Hey, what's up, guys? Shuckle King here, bringing you my playoff match quarterfinals for APA Academy, and we are facing off against JustKurt. Pretty exciting to be in APA playoffs, and hopefully I can deliver a worthy performance. I really like the team I have this season, and I think I can do pretty good things with it. But can't take anybody for granted, and definitely can't underestimate JustKurt, who took over this team from, I believe, Matt O'Shea. And since taking over, he's gone 5-1. The only loss he's had is to Platt, who's undefeated right now. So it's definitely a very impressive run for him. Someone I didn't want to face in the first round, but it is what it is. So you have to play it out. But again, I feel pretty confident about my team, but we'll see. Before we get into it, make sure you guys like the video and consider giving a subscription. Definitely appreciate it. And maybe give a comment about what you think of my team and how I'm going to do this season. Not sure if I'm going to break this up into a separate video or not. Probably depends about how long I'm going to be going in on this team analysis. I'll probably do a little bit of a longer one than normal, even though they're usually like 10 minutes anyway. It's already fairly long. I've been trying to cut down on the time a little bit, but I still want to give you guys what my thought process is in making a team. So I want to make sure I give you guys the best content. So in this matchup, I built a team a while ago, but I scratched it and basically did what I usually don't do this when building, but when I build a team, I look at what's their most threatening mon, what's my most threatening mon, and like making sure my most threatening mons can take advantage of their team as much as possible. So I didn't necessarily did that. Instead, I scouted what my opponent has brought in the past and devised a team more so around what I think my opponent's going to bring, more so than a generic team. And I did this because when I built my original team, I scouted some of his games, even though, I think he only uploaded 2 weeks, but I think that those only 2 weeks were Wi-Fi. All the others have been Showdown, so I've been able to see all his games. So I don't necessarily know, EVs and such, but I have an idea of what he brings. In general, so far, it's only a 6-game sample size, but I feel like that's a pretty big enough sample size, and it's worked out for him, so no need to deviate from that plan necessarily. And based on what he's brought in the past, I was definitely going to lose that game, so I had to restructure this team and make sure it's the best to take on what he has. And honestly, the 6 mons are the same as my original team. Debated with one mon. Maybe I'll talk about that later, but it's just different moves and EV sets and just a mindset about how to approach this game. So not going to really say necessarily what I think is most threatening to least threatening mons are like I normally do, but I'll say what he's brought in the past, and a lot of the mons I feel like make sense for him to bring. First would be Scarf Star Manitan, especially Adamant. Can outspeed my entire team if it's Adamant, and just does a lot of damage with Flare Blitz. If he's banded, that could be even more problematic. To an extent, I do have Dragapult and Zera Aura that can Revenge Kill, and if he's Adamant, I could be Jolly, Roserade, or Obstagoon and outspeed. So I don't think he would probably bring Jolly Life Orb Band or Adamant Choice Scarf. And that's just super annoying for my team to take. The only mon that takes it on reliably, because Colossal doesn't take it on reliably because it does have Earthquake and the off chance that it is Life Orb, I suppose. But Gastrodon is the only mon it takes on lightly. So as you see here, I have to bring that mon. So another way that he's won a couple games is set up Necrozma. He's almost brought this type of set every game. It could be Calm Mind, could be Iron Defense, could be Autonomize, could be Dragon Dance. There's a lot of options there, and I have to take into consideration all the potential sets that he could bring. So definitely very annoying there, but I feel like my team can cover as much of those sets as possible. He could be Rocks. If he's not a setup set, I will definitely take that. Screens Grimmsnarl, it's been the backbone of a lot of his teams. It just makes a lot of sense. Now, when I was really prepping for this team, I was more worried about a offensive Grimmsnarl, and that can definitely do damage, but I have ways to handle an offensive Grimmsnarl, maybe not as well as my original team did, but I feel like I have ways to combat the screens and at least limit how much damage the Grimmsnarl is going to be doing to my team. Amon, it's been very surprising, has gotten him 2 really big sweeps, is Hitmonlee with Close Combat, Poison Jab, Knockoff, and Curse. with White Herb, because Curse will lower your speed, and the White Herb will negate it. And if he's close combat, the White Herb will also negate that. So it's a pretty cool moveset that he has there. And he can run Adamant, and after an Unburden, outspeeds my entire team. And it's also very problematic. At +1, close combat, poison jab knockoff. Hits my team either super effectively, or like Zeraora isn't going to take a +1 close combat. Roserade isn't going to take one that well, and Craborant is not going to be coming this matchup. So definitely a very, very threatening set from the Hitmonlee if it sets up. Iron Defense Duraludon, he's brought that in the past, and it's also worked for him really well. I believe he won last week for his first playoff game because of it. So definitely a threat there. I have ways around it, and once the Duraludon is finished with the G-Max, I can handle it a lot better. But while it's in G-Max, it can be very annoying. And then just a general Rock Summon. It could be Duraludon, but actually Duraludon with rocks would be a little annoying. If it's Necrozma, I'll take it. Steelix could definitely come because they're pretty decent to my Zeraora. And then if he has rocks on Duraludon or Necrozma, then he'll just bring a 6-mon. Options Toxtricity, doubt it comes. I have Dragapult that takes on a lot of its hits offensively. Zeraora takes on the electric moves. Mamoswine, Gastrodon, and Steelix all taken on well because they're ground types and they can take on the poison moves as well. So I don't really see it coming. Roserade even can take it on pretty well. Colossal, so don't really see Toxtricity coming. Noivern, don't really see it coming. Dragapult, Zeraora, outspeed. Mamoswine is Ice Shard. Togekiss takes it on defensively. Steelix to an extent, it does have Fire Blast, and Colossal, so even like a Scarf Rotom could definitely come as well. So I don't see the Noivern coming. It is one of his 2 hazard removals, being Noivern Defog or Hitmonlee Rapid Spin. So if he's worried about my hazard stack, then Noivern could come for that regard. Cinccino could come. Definitely could come. I'm always more threatened about it than in practice, I feel. Steelix is pretty much a hard wall to it. But outside of that, it can be annoying if it's Choice Scarf, King's Rock, or like a Life Orb set. Even Choice Banded Tail Slap is going to do a lot of damage to my team because I don't have a resist to that outside of my Dragapult. I don't know if I want to be taking knockoffs with it necessarily. Awesome. Really doubt it comes. I do have a couple measures just in case. And that's all of the mons. Yep. So looking into this game, I mean, in my original build, Dragapult, Mamoswine, Togekiss all looked super, super good in this matchup. But again, with my different approach, I might not necessarily bring those mons. It's more about trying to combat the potential things he brings while still obviously giving me a chance to win this game. So the first mon, so I guess I can explain my thought process. Again, it's countering the stuff I think he could bring. And I also noted before that his hazard removal is Hitmonlee plus Noivern, and they're both not that reliable. And Dragapult can kind of switch in into Hitmonlee if it wants to Rapid Spin and Spin Block. So, and Noivern seems not a great bring. So I feel pretty confident if I can get spikes up, like if I get a T-Spike up, then it's going to be pretty hard for the Necrozma to sweep me, unless if it's like a Morning Sun set or a Rest set. In general, he's brought X setup move, which could be Iron Defense, Autotomize, Dragon Dance, Calm Mind, Healing move, and then 2 attacks. And I think those 2 attacks are going to be Psychic moves and probably Brick Break to handle the Obstagoon and hit the Steelix, at least somewhat. So I would expect those 2. It could be Heat Wave to hit the Steelix harder, but it helps hit the Obstagoon as well. Or it could be Autotomize and Earth Power in there to hit the Colossal really hard. So definitely a lot of options for the Necrozma, but I got to handle all of them. But if I can get a T-Spike up and wear it down, it's going to be a lot easier for me to take down Necrozma. It's going to be pretty tough if I don't get T-Spikes up this game for me to win, in my opinion. It's possible, but it's going to be tough. And because I don't think Toxtricity comes, I think I can get them up fairly free. So I think I want to do that as soon as possible. Gastrodon can be a little bit annoying if I don't have a T-Spike up. I do have Roserade, but outside of that, it can, like Zeraora is fairly hard-walled by it, so I have to watch out for that. So, that was the last mine I had mentioned before. Gastrodon could definitely come in this matchup. I handled the Zeraora. Well, there you go. So, first Pokemon I brought, and not necessarily the best mon in this matchup, but I felt like it was mandatory, and I was this Moist, the Gastrodon. I can pull up EVs on the side here. So 252 HP, 148 EVs in defense, and 108 with a calm nature, so boosting a SPDF on this Gastrodon. This allows me to live 2 Flare Blitz from Darmanitan after rocks if it's adamant. Choice Scarf. So Life Orb will 2-hit KO me, potentially. My set is Toxic, Recover, Earth Power, Protect. I do have Protect if I find out that he is Life Orb. And then I might be able to live a second hit, especially a Roxorn up. I would almost certainly live a hit. It depends. But I don't want to be EV'd enough to live 2 like Flare Blitzes after a Protect. That doesn't make a lot of sense because I want to recover up ideally the first time the Darmanitan comes in on me and goes for a Flare Blitz. I don't want to reveal Protect unnecessarily if I don't have to. Toxic, really there for the Gastrodon in case I don't get T-Spikes up, and same for Necrozma, so I'm not set up bait unless if he's Rest. Again, Rest would be pretty annoying, but I think I can handle it. Recover to stay healthy. Protect for a Duraludon. Duraludon could be a Solar Beam, so definitely a way to bypass me, and just get a leftovers recovery in general. In terms of special attacks, I still take pretty decent damage from the Necrozma special attacks, but I can take it on okay. I do get 2-hit KO'd by G-Max, Duraludon, and Draker Meteor when it's in Dragon form. I do have Protect, which kind of help with that, stall out turns potentially, but just something to note. And Protect could allow me to stall out G-Max turns from the Duraludon. And once I do that, Duraludon's not nearly as threatening just because it doesn't have the HP, and its special defense is so bad. That Earth Power is going to be doing a lot from it. So that's my Gastrodon there. The next Pokemon I have is Roserade with a Focus Sash. EVs are 252 in HP, 20 special attack, and 236 speed with a Timid nature. So this is Focus Sash. I am probably going to lead with this. I think my game plan is if they don't have the Noivern, then I'm going to lead with the Roserade. If they don't have a Noivern but have a Cinccino, then that could be a little bit more problematic because Cinccino could probably knock me out with a Tail Whip. Let me double check that. Cinccino, I imagine it does just because it's fairly strong. So Choice Band would take me out, as would Life Orb. So it's kind of tough for me to stay in with the Roserade on a Cinccino just because it would bypass the Focus Sash and then kill me off in return. So I don't think I would stay in I don't think I would lead with the Roserade if they have Cinccino. I'd probably lead with my Dragapult, which, spoilers, I do bring. So I'm going to lead with this unless if they have the Noivern, I would probably also lead with my Dragapult because it matches up pretty well with it. So if they don't have the Noivern and no Cinccino, then I'm going to leave with my Roserade. And I feel like that's most likely what's going to happen, especially if they don't have a Toxtricity as well. Then my T-Spike is there to stay. So that would be awesome. And I will probably be pretty aggressive with the Hitmonlee to make sure that a Rapid Spin won't go off. So I have enough speed to add speed to Duraludon. And fingers crossed, land a Sleep Powder. I have Focus Sash. In case I miss and somehow Duraludon does a lot of damage to me, at least I have a second chance to miss a Sleep Powder. I've been very unlucky with Sleep Powder this season, so hopefully I can land it. And at that point, I can set up Spikes and Toxic Spikes to really wear down his team, and then put on decent offensive pressure with the rest of my team. It's a little bit more, it's not hyper offense, but very offensive and pressuring his team base, especially because he does have screens. So if I can get T-Spikes up, that's also residual damage that I wouldn't be doing as much damage because of the screens up. So that kind of mitigates the screens to an extent. Giga Drain, just for recovery, I guess on the Gastrodon would be nice. Energy Ball could have been an option. Sludge Bomb's not really an option because I don't hit Steelix. At least with Giga Drain, I'll be hitting Steelix for okay damage, especially if he's not specially defensive. But I imagine special defensive Steelix would come if he does bring the Steelix. So yes, this is mainly here for Spikes to set up my team. I could also switch into the Gastrodon fine, but it's going to be tough for me to... It might be unrealistic that my Roserade is going to be alive for too long, so I might have to deal with the Gastrodon with other measures. Next Pokemon I have is Choice Dwarf's Dragapult. Now, because I am pretty confident I can leave it to Dragapult in this matchup, if he does bring the Noivern Cinccino, is because I am Scarfed And I will guaranteed add speed to Noivern and the Cincino. So I have 1 speed point more than a max speed Noivern. That's not really the reason I'm running that much speed on my my Dragapult, but it's definitely a benefit. So my set is 12 HP, max special attack, and a 244 speed, modest nature. The benefit of this, it allowed me to add speed of +2 timid Necrozma, which I mentioned autonomize could definitely be an issue. So in return, I can go for Hex, especially if a poison's up. I could do a crap ton of damage, probably kill after rocks and a little bit of poison damage on it, which would be great. I also had speed of +2 Adamant Hitmonlee. So if Hitmonlee gets a curse or a close combat and white herb up, I'll be outspeeding it and I should kill after like a little bit of poison damage with my Draco Meteor. Or Hex if it is poisoned. If it's not poisoned, then I go for Draco Meteor and hope I don't miss and lose the game otherwise. I consider putting Shadow Ball over Fire Blast, but I feel like the option of hitting Steelix really hard is worth it. I'm still tough debating about that last move, but I think I'm gonna stick with Fire Blast as a way to hit the Steelix. It's tough because I do have ways around the Steelix otherwise, so I might be changing that. We'll see. Shadow Ball would be nice to guaranteed I don't miss, and something a little bit stronger than Hex, though it's not that much stronger. We'll see. But yeah, this will add speed and revenge kill any of his mods. Like even if like Darmanitan, if he's not HP invested, I have a 50-50 shot to kill with Draco outright. So that's also pretty enticing for me to lead with Dragapult, because Darmanitan's not going to be able to kill me or do much to me with the one hit. I imagine he would just U-turn. If like with Dragapult versus Darmanitan turn 1, he'll probably just U-turn, not expect me to be scarfed. But I can do like enough damage to where he'll die to like a Flare Blitz or Rocks. That would be awesome. So it's a little bit fluid about what I'm going to be leading with. Draco Meteor also does a lot of damage to Duraludon, especially when it's not Gmax and has all that ridiculous HP amount. So the next Pokemon I have is Monster, the Zeraora with leftovers. So this set is 220 HP, 4 defense and special defense, 252 special attack, and then 28 with a plus speed nature. This will allow me to add speed, max speed Cincino. It won't allow me to add speed max speed Noivern, but I don't really think that comes, and I'd rather take a little bit extra bulk to take like an Earth Power from the Gastrodon. I figured that like Aura Sphere plus Thunderbolt hits this team fairly hard. It'll 2-KO Necrozma if poison's up and it's not very bulky. Grimmsnarl will do okay damage too. It doesn't hit the Toxtricity this set, but again, I don't really think it comes. And I do have Mamoswine and, spoilers, I have Mamoswine and Gastrodon to take it on pretty well. And Dragapult can also add speed of +2 Autonomize Toxtricity set, so I'm not too worried about that mon. I did have Taunt over Grass Knot to prevent Necrozma from potentially setting up or healing, or like Blossom from being an issue, because Blossom also kind of takes the set on pretty well. And I don't think it's a 0% chance Blossom comes either, so I want to consider it, but I figured going for Grass Knot and being able to 2-KO to Gastrodon is great. And I feel like I can sub up fairly confidently against this team, because I think Gastrodon has a pretty decent chance to come. So I can set up a sub fairly free whenever I bring this mon in, and I force out something, most likely I would. And then Grass Knot will 2-KO to Gastrodon unless he's Rindo Berry. Even if he's max special defensive, I should be 2-KOing unless I get 2 pretty low rolls, or he has Protect. So I like this, how this mon matches up against this team. A set of Necrozma would be unfortunate, Dorm outspeeds it, but otherwise I like what this mon can do. Next Pokemon I have is the Togekiss. On my original team, I had Scarfed, but instead I'm going to be a more bulky spread. So it's 132 HP, 124 special attack, and max speed, 252 EVs and speed. This allowed me to add speed the Necrozma if it's a max speed set and doesn't have any boost up. If it's Calm Mind, if it's Rest, if it's Iron Defense, I can Encore the Necrozma and not necessarily have to worry about it. I can flinch it down to death, be great. If it Dragon Dances up, could be a little more threatening. I could still Encore, like if he has +1 and then goes for like a Photon Geyser as I Encore. Not the greatest, but I should be able to revenge kill with Dragapult and Mamoswine, so not the worst thing in the world there. But I do have outspeed a max speed set, which is great. 132 HP allows me to live 1 poison jab from adamant Hitmonlee if it's at +1. So definitely a benefit there. I don't want to be losing to a Hitmonlee set. This would have to be a max HP, so I do have to watch out for my Togekiss to be pretty healthy in order for me to do that. But I just got to play smart in this game, and I think I can do that. My moves are Air Slash, just for flinch chances, and it hits his team okay. It doesn't hit the Toxtricity hard, but otherwise it hits the team for okay damage. It doesn't hit Steelix either, but I do have Aura Sphere to do 2-hit KO damage to that. And I can 2-hit KO to Duraludon with the Aura Sphere too, which is definitely a benefit. If he doesn't have Steel coverage on the Duraludon, I should be able to roost up and potentially stall out a G-maxed Duraludon, so something to note there. And the last Pokemon I am bringing is the Mamoswine with Metronome. If you see his team, Earthquake is super free. Necrozma, Darmanitan, Grimmsnarl, Toxtricity, Gastrodon, Hitmonlee, Cincino, Steelix, and Duraludon all get hit by Earthquake, either super effectively or for pretty decent damage. Blossom doesn't get hit super effectively by it, but I do have Icicle Crash, and that's the only reason I have Icicle Crash, just to make sure Blossom doesn't stall me out. And it could be Yachi Berry if it comes, but I just have to watch out for it. I also don't hit the Noivern, but I obviously have Ice Shard for it. So I feel like I can spam Earthquakes pretty freely. The EVs on this are max attack, max speed, with the Jolly Nature, again, outspeed the Necrozma, and then 4 in HP. So I feel like Gastrodon could be a switch in to my Mamoswine, as I don't believe Life Orb to it KOs unless I'm adamant. But I don't want to be adamant in this matchup. But I can continuously Earthquake. Scald won't be able to knock me out. And I don't think they would necessarily go for Scald right away if they're switching into an Earthquake. They probably want to just recover up and stay as healthy as possible first. So I can rack up enough damage to where I should be 2-hit KOing a Gastrodon. And he'll either be forced to go for a Scald and not kill, or just let his Gastrodon die, or let something else take a pretty hefty hit. So I do like the way that I can rack up a lot of damage with Metronome over the course of this game. So it's my team. And make sure you guys are here tomorrow when I post the actual battle. So until next time, later guys.